It's the Property Hour here on LBC. I'm Clive Bull. With me, Kate Faulkner and Alan Milstein will take your calls 0345 6060 973. Now, thanks to Direct Line Landlord Insurance, we're going to discuss the impact of the stamp duty changes. And with us still is Kate Faulkner, Managing Director of propertychecklists.co.uk. So, first of all, Kate, can you recap what the changes were, when they came into effect? Because we get a lot of questions about this stamp duty.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of different answers depending on where you live in the country as well, would you believe? So the main change that we saw came in after the end of March. So up until the end of March, everybody paid the same amount of stamp duty, depending on however many houses you had. But from April onwards, say, for example, if you were buying, if it was your primary residence, you were buying your first home and it was up to £125,000, you would pay no stamp duty. However, if you were buying that as a second home, then you would be, on the day of completion, then you would have to pay an additional 3%. So nothing if it's your primary home, 3% stamp duty to the government if that was your second home. Now, it's slightly, that's sort of England, Wales, Northern Ireland, it's slightly higher. So in Scotland, when they've introduced this, you can actually buy up to £145,000 and that's no stamp duty. But then if it's your second home, again, they took the 3% and applied it. So it makes a big difference when you start paying stamp duty as a normal homeowner. So if you buy, say, a £250,000 property, you would pay 2% on the additional amount. It gets quite complicated, between £125,000 and £250,000. So that would be about £2,500. But when you then top that up with the 3% you have to pay on all of it, on top of that 2%, you'd be paying £10,000 in stamp duty. Now, fortunately, you can go to .gov or you can go to the Revenue in Scotland, and they have nice little calculators that will help you. But always do check with your solicitor. There's lots of rules and regulations around stamp duty now, very complex, and check what you have to pay before you go ahead.
And what was the impact once this came in?
Well, it was almost, the impact happened before it came in, because we had an enormous 71% uplift in sales from previous years. And then in April, we had a 20% drop. No surprises, because basically we brought an awful lot of sales forward. And in actual fact, the idea of doing this was to try and take pressure off the market, try to stop prices kind of being seen as an asset bubble, as an investment. And in actual fact, it did the opposite. It managed to push
a huge impact.
Prices upwards. Exactly. We were looking at 4.5%. Suddenly it ratchets up to, price increases went up by 6%, as sellers quite rightly took advantage of it. So 6 months on, we're actually getting quite conflicting views. Some are saying actually it's not having that much difference, and particularly in areas where properties are still £150,000, £200,000, it's not a huge impact. Whereas more in sort of areas like London, that's where it's a little harder now, because you're talking tens of thousands of pounds, of course. So overall, though, we're not seeing a huge difference as yet.
And we've got the autumn statement, of course, coming up. Do you think we're going to get anything there affecting landlords, owners? There's
a lot of people with their fingers crossed, I can tell you. So what we don't know is, because it's not a new government, but we have a new cabinet, and they have indicated that perhaps they're not going to drive the home ownership agenda as much as the previous Chancellor in particular did, and that they understand that actually people want to rent, and that there is a demand for the rental market, and taking stock away from it potentially isn't a good idea. So what I can tell you is there is a lot of discussions going on with people trying to say to the new cabinet, look, if you don't take some of these tax implications, then potentially poor old tenants are the ones who are going to suffer, because they're not going to have somewhere to rent, or indeed properties are going to be sold and then they definitely won't have somewhere to rent.
Well, it sounds to me like being a landlord has got a bit more complicated.
It's got a lot more complicated.
So where can you get advice on that sort of thing?
So the most important thing is, we're here now, we're just at the start of November, and most of us will have been, if we've been very good, we'll have put our tax returns in on the 31st of October. And that's really important now, to take that to a property tax specialist, really understands what they're doing, to understand in the future, now that you've got all your numbers and ducks in a kind of row, what tax will you have to pay moving forward, and what are the implications? So if you want to expand your portfolio, how much extra money are you going to have to put aside for stamp duty? The good news is, though, bear in mind with the stamp duty change, is that it is tax deductible. Once you come to the stamp duty paid is tax deductible once you actually sell that property. So it's not all bad news.
We will watch this space as far as the autumn statement is concerned and bring you up to date with that as it comes in. But Kate, thank you very much for taking us through all of that. And thanks to Direct Line Landlord Insurance. And for more information and for the chance to win a tech bundle, go to lbc.co.uk.